This review has been brought to you in part by Hobby Airsoft, Cybergun and G&G.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Oddie's Airsoft. In this video review we're going to be having a look at this, which is the Cybergun F2000, fully licensed, made by G&G Armament. Now that sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but we do have to make sure we get the nomenclature correct. Cybergun don't make any guns themselves, but they do hold a license for some trademarks, and FN Herstal being one of them. So that's a good thing in many ways. G&G, one of the better manufacturers out there, makes solid guns. Yeah, this gun isn't new to the market in any way, shape or form. It's best part of 2 years out there. So, you know, if you've read anything at all on this, you'll know about some of the potential issues that have cropped up with this particular gun. You know, the main one being the trigger assembly. Trigger assembly occasionally causes the odd issue, but that's a very easy fix indeed. I've also heard it say that some people have lost the butt caps out in the field. I honestly don't see how that could happen if the butt cap is installed properly. The main issue that you should all be aware of, and unfortunately it's still present on this particular iteration of this gun, is the magwell issue. Right. Inside the magwell you can see the feed nozzle going up into the hop chamber. You can also see the underside of the gearbox, and sticking out of the gearbox is a lug which holds one of the screws that secures the two halves of the gearbox together. That lug intrudes into the magwell and means that you can have trouble inserting mid-cap magazines. The issue is it doesn't necessarily affect high-cap magazines. I use G&G high caps when I was field testing. I also use a Lonix Speed Mag when I was testing as well, and neither mag gave any issues. But for mid caps, you may have to mod them to actually get them to fit into the magwell correctly. Now, whilst I can do various bits of modding and soldering and rewiring and so forth, I'm not a big fan of having to mod something if I don't have to. If there's a genuine performance gain to be achieved by modding something, yes, I've no problem doing it, but having to mod something just to get it to work, I don't like the idea of it at all. Maybe I'm just weird that way. I know a lot of airsofters seem to think that, you know, modding is an integral part of our sport. Personally, I try to stay away from modding if at all possible. So come on, G&G. This is the second iteration of this particular AEG. Get it sorted. Retool your manufacturing processes, get that lug out of the way so it's not an issue anymore. Now, the biggest issue I have with this gun isn't necessarily the gun itself. It's more with the licensing. As I said earlier, Cybergun hold the licensing for various trademarks, FN Herstal being the relevant one in this case, and on the box you can see, yes, there's a nice FN Herstal logo, F2000, you know, various lovely pictures and logos and so forth around the place. And on the picture of the gun that's on the box, there's a nicely engraved FN Herstal logo on the magwell, and there's a nicely engraved message on the stock saying FN Herstal Belgium, F2000 Cal 6mm. So oh, that's great, no bothers there. I'll take the gun out of the box and it'll have full trades. Not so. This gun still has the standard G&G engraving / moulding. You know, model G2010 Airsoft Cal 6mm BB, G&G Armament made in Taiwan, and a token, you know, screen printed or laser etched FN Herstal logo here. I think that's poor. If you're gonna say on the box this gun is fully licensed and show pictures of a gun with full trades, then there better damn well be a gun with full trades inside the box. I'm not a trade freak, but if you're gonna do trades, they've got to be accurate and they've got to be correct. If you're gonna advertise that this gun has full trades, why oh why is there a gun inside the box that does not have full trades? That's a poor excuse for trades, to be honest. You know, single little etching on the magwell. Get your act together, Cybergun, because I'm sure a lot of people do want to buy a fully traded gun, but this isn't it, right? Also, speaking of faux pas, this is the rather flimsy pamphlet you get with the gun. Poor, very poor indeed. If you were to follow the instructions in this pamphlet, you would not be able to correctly install the rubber butt pad, and you would not be able to correctly adjust the muzzle energy of this AEG. So come on, it's a small thing, it doesn't take an awful lot of effort to get it right. Come on Cybergun, get your act together. So that's my gripes out of the way. I don't want to sound overly negative about it, but you know, these are things that I did want to bring up. So we'll move on in the second part of this video to actually reviewing how the gun fired in field. Right, so the gun itself. As you can see, it's a bullpup design, and a lot of bullpup designs tend to be unusual looking, which is a kind of way of saying some of them are not very attractive at all. Jerry always has a view on this gun that's like Marmite. You either love it or hate it, there's very little middle ground. I'm still getting used to it. It certainly isn't the most attractive gun in the world, but not the worst either. And you know what? All my concerns around what it looks like were completely allayed when I actually shoulder it. It just feels so comfortable when you shoulder this gun. It really is lovely to hold. I'm not sure, is that because the body is much fatter than a typical M4, or whether it's the extended butt pad. I don't know what it is. It's very hard to quantify, but it just feels so good when you shoulder it. So don't when you see it on a shelf in your local retailer, don't dismiss it just because of the way it looks. Pick it up, shoulder it. It really does feel very nice indeed. Some people have said the plastic foregrip at the front here is too thick, but you know what? It's in perfect proportion to the rest of the gun, and I found it very, very comfortable indeed. Another really nice feature of this gun is some bullpups have handled in the past, and the one I'm talking about specifically there is the L85. They're very, very butt heavy, right? So it tends to sink. Now in the real world that may have applications in terms of handling and so forth, but this gun handles really nicely because the balance point is right here. It's right here in the gun, yeah? Which is exactly where you're going to place your hand, which makes this gun very, very maneuverable indeed. It is bullpup, so it is shorter than a conventional M4 with a similar barrel length, so it is going to be shorter anyway, but it does handle really, really nicely indeed. Another feature that is often talked about on this gun is the variable FPS, the variable muzzle energy facility. Now this was running at around 325 FPS, just below the 1 joule. Obviously we're here in Ireland and we have to abide by the 1 joule muzzle energy legislation, and that's fine. In other jurisdictions you may well want to fit stronger springs, or adjust the FPS on the standard spring to something that's more suitable to yourself. Obviously I can't do that, but I did test to see when I wound the spring guide out all the way, what happened. Now the interesting thing was there, as I say, I was shooting about 325. When I wound it all the way out, as in minimum tension on the spring, it was shooting 300, 305, something like that. The rate of fire was an interesting change actually. At 325 FPS it was getting about 12 BBs a second. But when I wound it all the way out and was getting 300, 305 FPS, the rate of fire went up to around 13.5 BBs a second. I didn't think the difference would be that significant. Over the course of a day, especially if you're using mids, your modded mids, that could make a difference to how quickly you're going to go through ammo. But one of the really nice features on this gun is the what I call a two-stage trigger switch. I'm not sure if that is the correct technical term for it, but when you put it onto semi-auto, if you partially pull the trigger back, you get a single shot. If you pull it all the way back, it goes to full auto. So it gives you the best of both worlds. It means you can have control over a single fire and full auto capability without having to flick the selector switch, which is probably a good thing because it's not the most ergonomic selector switch I've ever seen. There's nothing wrong with it, but it does take a reasonable amount of force and thought to change the setting. But as I say, once it's on full auto, you have both semi-functionality and full auto, which is a really, really nice feature indeed. Now, I mentioned the inner barrel length is longer on a bullpup design. Here's one here for comparison. Right, this gun, although it doesn't look like it, is based on a G&G CQBS. Okay, now you can see with the stock fully extended on the CQBS, this gun is slightly longer than the F2000. Interestingly, the barrel length on that CQBS is 275mm, whereas the barrel length on this, which is a shorter gun, is 443mm. Now that's a 60% increase in length in the barrel, which gives you a lot of benefits in terms of consistency of shot, accuracy and range. And you do notice these things, especially when you're playing open field airsoft. You're not necessarily going to notice it in urban settings, close quarters combat, but it does give you an advantage in an open field situation. So yeah, make use of it. Make use of it. Another really nice feature on this gun is the ability to change out the barrel. Right, you slide forward the pin and the entire barrel assembly comes out. This is great for two reasons. First of all, you can easily change the stock barrel to a Type R barrel if you want. Not that G&G stock barrels are very, very large diameter anyway. I think they're in around the 6.05mm, which is quite acceptable compared to some manufacturers. But most regular airsofters are going to want to swap that out to a 603 or 602 Type R. And it's very easily done with the way this system has been set up. The barrel just slides out of there. You can change the barrel to your heart's content. Another really nice advantage of this particular setup is that it makes it very, very easy to clean your barrel. You can see exactly where you're going. You can see through the barrel at both ends. You can make sure the hop-up's completely disengaged. And when you're running the cleaning rod through it, you're not going to jam it too far through and jam it into the air nozzle, as can happen on standard M4s. So that's a really, really nice feature. So, there's not a whole lot more I can say about this gun. I'm not a fan of bullpups, right? I thought it was going to have issues changing mags, but in reality it was very easy. Nice big button for the mag release, and there's a nice hefty spring behind it as well, which means you're not going to accidentally release a mag. But it's not so heavy that it's not easy to release the mag at the same time. One little hint I will give you is that when you're changing mags, try and keep the body of the gun vertical. Right? I made the mistake of laying the gun on the ground at one stage when I was reloading a couple of mags, and changed the mag in this configuration. You know yourself, with a high cap, the BBs are going to be under some tension, mid caps as well. The last couple of BBs can tend to come out. And what happened was I ended up with a couple of BBs rattling around inside the body. It didn't affect the performance of the gun, but it was annoying. So, you know, when you're changing your mag, try and make sure that the gun's in a vertical position. So any loose BBs that come out of the mag fall out of the mag well. So overall impressions? Yeah, I really liked it. I just love the way this gun handles. One of the only issues I had really was trying to set up a sling for this. The only sling that fits this gun is the dedicated real steel one, which is the Urban ERT, which is a rather convoluted affair. It fits 4 ways around this rather large stock. I just jury rigged a section of a 2-point sling, so it went down and around here, and then finished off in a little ring at the top there, so I could hook it up to my MS2. Obviously I couldn't access the hop-up chamber once that was in place, but you know what, I'd set my hop in the safe zone, or rather in the test firing zone, and I was happy that it was going to stay that way for the rest of the day, so I didn't need to access the hop, so I was fine setting the sling up the way I had it. There's not a lot more I can say really. There are a couple of different versions of this gun out there. This is the standard rail version. You can also get one which has the integrated hunter sight. I'm not a big fan of that one. I'd prefer to choose my own optics, or not, as the case may be. The standard iron sights on this are perfectly fine. You know, they do what they say on the tin. Yeah, an EOTech or some sort of aim point on there does look very nice as well. But I found because it just shoulders and you get a nice cheek rest, you don't necessarily need to put optics on it to get good performance and good aiming characteristics out of this gun. Overall, very impressed. Really enjoyed using it. The rate of fire for me felt a little low. 12 BBs a second isn't low, but it's nowhere near the high end either. It's more than adequate for any airsofter, but some people do want to get much higher rate of fire out of the gun, so maybe you want to, if you were going to buy this gun, you want to consider changing the motor rate for a higher speed motor. But really, I can't say anything bad about the performance of this gun. Okay, fair enough. When I first got it, we've said this often enough that we, as airsofters, we do expect our kit to fail. The first time I had this gun out in the field, it just stopped working. I have no idea what went wrong with it. It just stopped. Didn't give any indication of any issues, but it just stopped working. I brought it back to Richard and the crew in Hobby Airsoft, and they got it sorted, and then I got it back out to play. Airsoft guns do break. As I said, I don't know what happened when I brought this out first, but these things do happen from time to time. They're mechanical devices, and Richard looked after me well. Speaking of Richard, actually, I must give a shout out to him and apologise to him for the length of time it's after taking us to get this review out there. I probably had this gun about 2 months, and circumstances sort of went against me in terms of timing and getting out playing. So apologies for that, Richard, and many thanks for the loan of this AEG for the review. So to close, keep an open mind. Don't rule this gun out just because it's a bullpup and you don't like the look of it. The performance characteristics, the handling characteristics of this gun really are superb. So, have a look at one, shoulder it, see what you think of it. It's well worth considering if you're in the market for a high-end AEG. And being G&G, it's going to be pretty damn solid. So, that's it from me. So, Ollie's Airsoft out.